Detective Ethan Cole hated rainy days. Most people thought rain made a city look beautiful. Ethan thought it made everything feel unfinished. The roads looked dirty, the sky looked tired, and criminals seemed to crawl out from every dark corner. On a cold Monday morning, Ethan arrived at the police station carrying a cup of coffee and a headache. He expected paperwork. Instead, he found an envelope on his desk. No stamp, no address, no name. Just a plain white envelope. Probably another prank, muttered Officer Reyes. Ethan nodded. The department received strange letters all the time. Most were from people claiming they had seen aliens, ghosts, or secret government agents. He opened the envelope anyway. Inside was a single page. The message was typed, not handwritten, not signed, just words. Ethan began reading. His coffee nearly slipped from his hand. A murder will happen on Tuesday, May 19th. Time, 8:17 p.m. Victim, Sarah Whitmore. Location, 214 Hawthorne Street. Cause of death, 1 stab wound to the chest. Murderer, unknown. Ethan stared at the page, then read it again, and again. The details were too specific. It wasn't written like a threat. It was written like a report, as if someone already knew exactly what would happen. Everything okay? Reyes asked. Ethan folded the paper. I don't know. For the first time all morning, his headache disappeared. Now he had something much worse. Questions. 3 hours later, Ethan knocked on the door of 214 Hawthorne Street. A young woman opened it. She wore glasses and an oversized sweater. She looked more annoyed than frightened. Can I help you? Sarah Whitmore? Yes, I'm Detective Ethan Cole. The annoyance disappeared immediately. What's wrong? Ethan showed her the letter. Sarah read it, then laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was ridiculous. This is a joke. Maybe. You came all the way here for this? The letter knew your full name and address. Sarah stopped smiling. That was harder to explain. I don't know who would send this. Neither do I. For several seconds, they stood in silence. Finally, Sarah sighed. Well, if someone plans to murder me next week, that's certainly a bad start to my day. Ethan almost smiled. Almost. Over the next few days, he investigated every part of her life. Nothing stood out. No enemies. No stalkers. No angry ex-boyfriends. No dangerous deaths. No criminal connections. Sarah's life was painfully normal. She worked at a bookstore. She lived alone. She spent weekends reading novels and feeding stray cats. If someone wanted her dead, Ethan couldn't figure out why. The case didn't make sense, and somehow that bothered him even more. On Friday morning, another envelope appeared. Same paper, same typing, same lack of fingerprints. Ethan opened it immediately. This one was shorter. Monday, 3:42 p.m. Sarah's umbrella will break. She will buy a red umbrella from Miller's store. Ethan frowned. What kind of prediction was that? It seemed completely random, almost useless. Still, he kept watching. Monday arrived. At exactly 3:42 p.m., a strong wind snapped Sarah's umbrella in half. She looked up at the sky, swore under her breath, walked into Miller's store and bought a red umbrella. Exactly as predicted. Not 1 minute earlier, not 1 minute later. Exactly. Ethan felt a chill run through him. The murder prediction might not be a joke after all. That night, he couldn't sleep. The writer knew things that hadn't happened yet. Impossible things. Yet the evidence sat right in front of him. He kept staring at the letter, looking for some clue, anything. Then he noticed something strange. A tiny coffee stain in one corner. A stain shaped like a crescent moon. Oddly familiar. He couldn't remember why. Tuesday arrived, the day of the predicted murder. Ethan stationed officers around Sarah's home. No visitors, no deliveries. Nobody entered without police approval. The house was practically a fortress. Sarah tried joking about it. Nobody laughed. As evening approached, tension filled every room. 7:30 p.m., 7:50 p.m., 8 p.m. The clock seemed louder than usual. Every second felt important. At 8:15 p.m., Ethan checked every door himself. Locked. Every window secured. Everything was under control, or so he thought. At 8:17 p.m. exactly, the lights went out. The house became dark. Someone screamed. Then came another sound. A crash, followed by silence. Terrible silence. Ethan drew his flashlight. His heart pounded. The lights returned 10 seconds later. Everyone looked around, confused. Nobody appeared injured. Nobody appeared dead. Sarah stood beside him, alive, perfectly fine. Ethan felt relief flood through him. The prediction was wrong. They had stopped it. Then, Sarah pointed toward the hallway. "Ethan?" Her voice sounded strange, fearful. He followed her gaze. A body lay on the floor, face down, blood spreading beneath it. One stab wound, directly through the chest. The victim was Officer Reyes, dead, at exactly 8:17 p.m. The prediction had come true, but not for the person everyone expected. The investigation exploded overnight. The killer had somehow entered a house filled with police officers. Nobody saw anything. Nobody heard anything. No fingerprints. No footprints. No evidence. Nothing. It was like the murderer had appeared from thin air, then disappeared the same way. Ethan had never seen anything like it. And the worst part? Another envelope arrived the next morning, waiting on his desk. "You are protecting the wrong person." That sentence changed everything. Because until then, Ethan assumed Sarah was the target. Now he wasn't sure. Maybe Sarah wasn't the victim. Maybe she was the reason the murders were happening. He started digging deeper, much deeper. And finally, he found something strange. 3 years earlier, Sarah had worked for a research company called Tomorrow Labs, a company that no longer existed. Officially, it had closed because of financial problems. Unofficially, half its records had vanished. Employees refused to talk. Former executives had disappeared. Something wasn't right. When Ethan confronted Sarah, she broke down crying, not because she was guilty, because she had been lying for years. "Tell me the truth," Ethan said. Sarah looked exhausted. "I don't remember everything." "What does that mean?" "I was part of an experiment." The room became silent. She continued. They were trying to predict human decisions. Ethan frowned. Predict the future? Yes. He laughed. No, I'm serious. They can't predict the future. They couldn't either, Sarah whispered. At least not at first. Then she looked him directly in the eyes. But eventually they did. She explained that Tomorrow Labs had created a machine. Not a time machine. Something stranger. A machine that could receive information from the future. Only tiny pieces. A sentence, a name, a date. Nothing more. Most scientists thought it was impossible. Then one day it worked. The future answered, and everything changed. Ethan wanted to dismiss the story as nonsense, until Sarah showed him something. A photograph. Old, faded, taken years ago inside a laboratory. Several scientists stood together. One face instantly caught Ethan's attention. His blood froze. The man in the picture looked exactly like him. Not similar, exactly. Same eyes, same face, same scar near his eyebrow. Impossible. The photograph was 10 years old, long before Ethan joined the police force, long before anyone there could have known him. His hands shook. Who is that? Sarah looked away. She had hoped he wouldn't ask. Finally, she answered. That's Dr. Ethan Cole. What? He created the machine. Ethan laughed nervously. No, it's true. That's impossible. Sarah looked like she wanted to say more. Instead, she whispered, You're not the first Ethan Cole. The room became silent. Ethan felt the floor disappear beneath him. What are you talking about? Sarah took a deep breath. The machine didn't just receive information from the future. Her eyes filled with tears. It received people. Ethan stared at her. What? The scientist who built the machine disappeared. She swallowed hard. Then you appeared. The words felt unreal, like a nightmare, like a joke, like madness. Yet somehow they explained everything. The familiar coffee stain, the strange letters, the photograph, the impossible predictions. Then came the final twist, the one that changed everything. Sarah opened the drawer, removed a small metal key, and handed it to Ethan. What is this? The locker. What locker? The one you rented. I never rented a locker. Sarah looked at him sadly. Yes, you did. Inside the train station locker was a metal box. Inside the box was a video, recorded years earlier. Ethan pressed play. The screen flickered. Then a man appeared. A man who looked exactly like him. Older, tired, afraid. The man stared into the camera, then spoke. Hello, Ethan. Ethan's heart stopped. The man continued. If you're watching this, then it happened again. Again. One word, but it changed everything. The truth is simple, the man said. You are not a detective who found a mystery. He paused. You are the mystery. Ethan couldn't breathe. The man continued. Every time the machine tries to predict the future, reality breaks. Images flashed across the screen. Different versions of Ethan. Different years. Different timelines. Hundreds of them. The letters aren't warnings. The older Ethan looked directly into the camera. They are instructions. A terrible realization hit him. What instructions? He whispered. As if the video could hear him. The answer came anyway. Instructions for you. The older Ethan smiled sadly, because every murder in the story was committed by the same person. Ethan felt ice in his veins. The older version leaned closer and spoke the final words. You. No. Ethan shook his head. But deep inside, memories began returning. Broken memories. Memories that were not his, or perhaps had always been his. Dark hallways, blood on his hands, envelopes, rain, a knife, and Sarah screaming, not because she was in danger, because she was trying to stop him. Suddenly, everything made sense. The anonymous letters, the impossible predictions, the missing evidence, the reason nobody ever saw the killer. The killer was always there, standing among the police, investigating the crime, searching for clues. Detective Ethan Cole. Every timeline ended the same way. He became obsessed with changing the future. Each attempt created another version of himself, another timeline, another murder, another loop. Again and again and again. The first victim had never been Sarah. The real victim was Ethan himself. Every version of him slowly destroyed the next, trapped in an endless cycle, trying to prevent crimes he had already committed, trying to solve mysteries he had already created, trying to save people from himself. 1 week later, another envelope appeared on a detective's desk. No stamp, no address, no fingerprints. Inside was a single sheet of paper. The message was typed. Simple, precise, terrifying. A murder will happen next Tuesday at 8:17 p.m. And somewhere in another version of reality, another Ethan Cole opened the letter and began the investigation all over again. And just like that, the cycle began again. Another letter, another detective, another murder waiting in the future. But the biggest question remains. If Ethan was both the detective and the killer, was he ever trying to stop the murders? Or was he unknowingly making them happen all along? Maybe some mysteries are never meant to be solved. And maybe somewhere right now, another envelope is already waiting on another desk. If you enjoyed the story and want more mystery, thriller, and mind-bending tales like this one, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And tell me in the comments, if you received a letter predicting a murder next week, would you believe it? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.